The small Montana town of Red Valley was the kind of place where news did not travel by radio, phone, or newspaper. It moved by people. A shopkeeper would tell a customer something. The customer would tell someone at the gas station. That person would tell a neighbor, and before the sun set, the whole town knew it. That was exactly what happened the day Anya Kovac arrived. By the second afternoon, everyone had an opinion about her, even people who had not seen her yet. Some said she was the tallest woman they had ever heard of. Some said she could lift a full water tank by herself. Others claimed she spoke 10 languages. The stories grew larger every time someone retold them, until the truth was buried under layers of playful exaggeration. Someone joked she would scare any man away, and someone else replied that maybe only a man with a brave heart could stand beside her. And so the nickname began, the Giant Bride. It was silly, but Red Valley loved silly things. People did not mean harm by it. They just enjoyed having something new to talk about. The real Anya, however, was very different from the stories. She was tall, yes, but she was also quiet, thoughtful, and gentle with animals. She had traveled from another country to help her uncle, who ran a horse breeding farm on the edge of town. The farm had fallen into difficult times after his health declined, and Anya promised she would stay for a year to help rebuild it. She worked long days, repairing fences, feeding horses, and learning the ranch routines that were new to her. She did not mind the hard work. It kept her mind steady and gave her a reason to stay busy. Her uncle, a cheerful man with a deep laugh, often teased her lovingly. "You need someone bold enough to walk beside you," he would say. A man with courage in his chest. Anya always brushed off such comments with a small smile. She did not come to Red Valley to look for anyone. Her life before this had taught her that building a peaceful future was more important than chasing big dreams. Yet she still carried hope somewhere inside, even if she did not admit it. While the town was adjusting to Anya's presence, miles away, on the far side of the valley, lived Luke Hardin. Luke was known for being independent, almost to the point of isolation. After his parents passed and a long relationship ended badly, he withdrew from most people. He took care of his cattle, repaired his own fences, and did his grocery shopping late in the evening to avoid unnecessary conversations. People respected him, but they also whispered about how lonely he seemed. They said he kept his heart behind a gate no one knew how to open. Luke did not mind being alone. Or at least he told himself that. His home was silent, but it was simple and familiar, and he felt safe in his routines. He spent his days working from sunrise to sunset, riding across his wide-open land, checking water lines, tending to the herd, and repairing what needed fixing. He hardly visited town except when required. If someone had told him his life was about to change because of a stranger, he would not have believed it. The meeting between Luke and Anya happened because of something simple: a broken fence, a stray herd, and a bit of bad luck. One early morning, Luke discovered that part of his back fence had collapsed overnight. A strong wind had knocked down a rotting post, and several of his cattle had wandered off through the open gap. He followed their tracks through the dry grass until he saw hoofprints leading toward the old Kovac farm. He sighed, annoyed at himself for not repairing the weak post sooner. He rode over, expecting to spend half the morning gathering the animals, but before he could reach the pasture, he saw something unusual. A tall woman was calmly guiding his cattle back with nothing but a soft voice and a bucket of feed. She moved slowly, letting the animals trust her, and they followed her as if she had known them for years. Luke stopped his horse, puzzled. No one handled cattle like that unless they had a natural connection with animals, and very few people in Red Valley had that skill. "Morning," Luke said when he approached her. Anya turned, and for a moment, Luke was caught off guard. She was indeed taller than he was, but not in a way that felt intimidating. Her presence was steady, her expression calm, and her eyes warm despite the surprise in them. "Your cattle wandered to our side," she said. Her voice had a slight accent, smooth and pleasant. "I thought you might be looking for them." "I was," he replied, feeling unsure what else to say. She handed the bucket to him. "They follow food more than orders. It works every time." Luke nodded politely. "Thank you." Anya gave a small shrug. It was no trouble. Horses and cattle all like the same kind of patience. Anya gave a small. There was a short pause. Neither of them knew what else to add. Luke was used to ending conversations quickly, but something about her calm nature kept him from turning away. Before he could choose between staying or leaving, Anya spoke again. "I'm Anya," she said. Luke hardened. Her expression shifted slightly, as if she recognized the name. "People in town talk about you." Luke groaned inside. "I'm sure they do. Not in a bad way," she said with a soft smile. "They say you work hard and keep to yourself, and that you fix everything on your land by hand. That part's true, at least." Another short pause, this one more comfortable than the last. Then Anya said, "If you need help fixing your fence, I have some tools here. My uncle keeps more than anyone needs. I have..." "Cool." Luke hesitated. He rarely accepted help from anyone. But the fallen fence was far from home, and he knew repairing it alone would take longer than he had time for. "If the offer stands," he said carefully, "I won't say no." "It stands," she replied simply. They spent the next hour replacing the broken post. Anya was strong, but what surprised Luke even more was how she used her strength, slow, controlled, always making sure the wood aligned perfectly before setting it in place. She listened when he explained the layout of his fences. She worked without showing off or complaining. The silence between them was comfortable, which was rare for Luke. When the job was done, Luke finally asked, "How long have you been in Red Valley?" "A few weeks," she said. "My uncle needed help, and I needed a fresh start." He nodded. He understood the feeling of wanting a new beginning, even if he never talked about it. As they stood by the repaired fence, the morning sun stretched across the field, warming the air. Luke realized he had been talking more in the last hour than he had in the past month. Anya did not push him with questions or try to fill every quiet moment. She simply existed beside him in a calm, steady way. When it was time to leave, Luke gathered the cattle and prepared to head home. Anya waved lightly and turned toward her uncle's barn. For the rest of the day, Luke found himself thinking about her more than he expected. He wondered how someone could arrive in town and become the center of so many stories. He wondered why she would choose a quiet life on a struggling farm. Most of all, he wondered why meeting her had made him feel something he had not felt in a long time, the sense that maybe he had been alone for longer than he needed to be. By evening, the rumor mill of Red Valley was already spinning. Someone had seen Luke and Anya working together. Someone else claimed they had smiled at each other. Another person insisted Luke had looked nervous, which amused everyone because Luke rarely showed any emotion at all. Meanwhile, Anya was at her uncle's kitchen table, drinking tea, thinking about the quiet rancher with the serious eyes. She did not know why the meeting stayed in her mind. Maybe it was because he seemed honest. Maybe it was because he treated her like a normal person instead of a legend or curiosity. Or maybe it was simply because she sensed something lonely in him that felt familiar. Whatever the reason, Red Valley was about to witness a story neither she nor Luke expected, and though neither knew it yet, the small spark that began with a broken fence would grow into something neither of them had imagined. In the days that followed their first meeting, Luke tried to convince himself that he had simply met a new neighbor and nothing more. But every time he rode near the fence line that bordered the Kovac farm, his thoughts drifted back to the tall woman with steady eyes and calm strength. He remembered the quiet confidence in her movements, the small smile she gave when she worked, and the way she listened without rushing to speak. It felt unusual to him. He was used to conversations that ended quickly or stayed shallow. With Anya, nothing felt forced. Even silence had seemed natural. On the other side of the valley, Anya found herself thinking about Luke too. She told herself it was only because he had been kind. She appreciated that he treated her like a normal person, not a joke or a legend. People in town meant well, but sometimes their comments made her feel like a character instead of a person. But Luke had not laughed at her height or acted surprised by her strength. He had worked beside her like an equal. That stayed with her in a quiet, gentle way. Their paths crossed again only a week later, though neither of them planned it. A few of Luke's younger cattle had wandered near the Kovac horse pasture. This time, Anya did not guide them back herself. She simply watched them from a distance, then decided to check the fence line in case there was another weak spot. Luke arrived soon after, riding toward the animals with calm control. When he saw her standing there, he slowed his horse. An unexpected warmth settled in his expression. "I'm starting to think my herd likes visiting your land more than mine," he said. Anya smiled. "Maybe they enjoy the scenery. Or maybe they know someone here will bring them back without scolding them." Luke replied. The joke surprised her. It was gentle, light, something he probably didn't say often. He didn't smile much, but she noticed a small lift at the corner of his mouth. They checked the fence together. It wasn't broken, just old. Luke sighed softly. "It needs to be replaced soon. I've been putting it off." "Then I can help," Anya said without hesitation. "Two people can finish it faster than one." Luke hesitated. The same way he had on their first meeting. He wasn't used to accepting help, but he also wasn't used to someone offering it without expecting anything in return. He nodded. "I'd appreciate that." They worked for several hours. The warm sun and soft wind made the task feel less tiring. They talked a little enough to understand each other better, but not so much that the conversation felt heavy. Anya told him about her uncle's farm in her home country and how she missed the mountains there. Luke told her about growing up in Red Valley and how much the land meant to him. Sometimes they said nothing. Sometimes they laughed quietly at small things, like a horse sticking its nose into Luke's tool bag or a curious calf trying to chew Anya's sleeve. It felt easy, even though both carried histories that were far from easy. As they worked, the townspeople passing on the road slowed down to watch. Red Valley loved stories, and this one was quickly becoming their favorite. They had never seen Luke spend so much time with anyone, especially someone new. And they had never seen Anya look so relaxed around someone who wasn't family. People whispered to each other with amused curiosity, but neither Luke nor Anya noticed. They were too focused on the fence, on their quiet teamwork, and on something growing between them slowly, naturally. By midday, they finished the fence. Luke leaned against one of the new posts, wiping his forehead. "Thank you for the help," he said sincerely. "You're welcome," Anya replied. "It was nice working with you." There was another pause, the kind that held something unspoken. Before Luke could speak again, Anya's uncle called from the porch, asking for help with a delivery. She glanced in his direction, then back at Luke. "I should go." He nodded. "I'll walk you back." They walked slowly toward the house, though neither of them admitted they were delaying the goodbye. When they reached the porch, Anya's uncle raised an eyebrow at Luke with a teasing smile, as if he already knew more than they did. Luke cleared his throat. "I'll see you around. Probably sooner than you expect," she said lightly. Luke rode home with a strange calmness in his chest, something soft, something he had been missing for years without realizing it. The following days were quieter, but the memory of their time together stayed with both of them. They didn't meet again until the middle of the week, when Anya went into town for supplies. She did not expect to see Luke there. He rarely visited unless he had no choice. Yet, as she crossed the street carrying a heavy box of feed supplements, she heard someone call her name. She turned to see Luke stepping out of the hardware store, holding a bundle of fence wire. He looked surprised, but not unhappy to see her. "That looks heavy," he said, nodding toward the box. "It is," she admitted. "But I can manage." "I can help," he said simply. She handed the box over with a grateful smile. He carried it easily, walking beside her toward her truck. The simple act of helping felt natural, as though they had been doing tasks together for years, not days. Once the box was loaded, they lingered near the truck door. People passing by tried not to stare, though everyone noticed them. Luke took a small breath. "I'm heading toward your side of the valley this evening to check the upper water line. If you and your uncle need anything delivered, I can bring it with me." Luke told her. Anya understood the hidden meaning. It was not just an offer, it was an invitation. A chance to meet again without pretending it was an accident. "We're fine," she said gently. "But, if you come by, you can stop for tea." Luke blinked. caught off guard. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. Tea sounds nice. She smiled. Good. The quiet moment between them was warm enough to make a few people watching from shop windows grin with delight. Red Valley was already building the next chapter of their story in their minds. That evening, true to his word, Luke finished his work early and rode toward the Kovac farm. He didn't rush, but he didn't slow down either. He tried to convince himself it was just tea, just a friendly visit, but a small part of him knew it was more than that. It had been a long time since he wanted to spend time with someone for reasons other than necessity. When he reached the farm, Anya was waiting on the porch, a soft light from the window glowing behind her. She looked relaxed, comfortable, as though she had been expecting him. I almost thought you changed your mind, she said playfully. I almost did, he admitted. But only because I wasn't sure if I should come. I'm glad you did. They sat outside with warm cups of tea, talking about simple things, the weather, the animals, the work they each had done that day. It was nothing dramatic, nothing grand. But it felt right. It felt peaceful. Somewhere in their conversation, Anya mentioned how town people kept calling her the giant bride. Luke frowned slightly. I've heard it, he said. People don't mean harm, but it's not exactly fair. She laughed softly. It's harmless. A little silly, but harmless. Still, he said quietly, I don't think it fits you. What do you think fits me? She asked, curious but not shy. Luke hesitated, then answered honestly. Strong, kind, steady, more real than people realize. For a moment, Anya did not speak. Her expression softened with a mix of surprise and something fragile, something touched by his sincerity. And you, she said gently, are not as distant as people think. The evening air grew cooler, but neither of them moved. The porch felt like a small world of its own, warm and peaceful. As the conversation continued, Anya joked lightly about being strong. Luke responded by claiming she exaggerated. She raised an eyebrow. Amused, she stood up, shrugged off her heavy work coat, and held it up. If you think I pretend, she said with a challenging smile, then remove this coat if you dare. It weighs more than you think. It was a playful challenge, nothing more. A test of confidence, not strength. A way of seeing whether Luke would step out of his comfort zone. Luke raised an eyebrow. If I dare? Only if you do, she teased. He reached out, took hold of the massive coat, and froze. Not because the coat was heavy though it was, but because the moment felt different, close, unexpected, personal. He stood still, suddenly aware of how near they were. How the porch light glowed on her face. How quiet the world around them had become. Anya noticed his pause, and for the first time, a hint of embarrassment crossed her face. She stepped back, unsure of what he was thinking. The challenge had changed something neither of them knew how to name yet. But whatever it was, it would shape everything that came next. For a moment that felt much longer than it actually was, Luke stood still on the porch, holding the large, heavy work coat in his hands. The porch light cast a soft glow across the boards, and the quiet evening wrapped itself around them like a warm blanket. Everything felt peaceful, yet there was a tension in the air neither of them could explain easily. Luke wasn't used to moments like this, and his mind struggled to understand what he was feeling. The coat was heavy, but that wasn't the reason he had stopped moving. The truth was that the challenge had brought him closer to Anya in a way he had not expected. When he stepped forward to take the coat from her shoulders, he was suddenly aware of how close they were. Close enough to see the small freckles on her arms. Close enough to notice the tiny scars from years of working with tools and animals. Close enough to realize she was not someone to be judged by the stories in town, but someone with her own quiet history. The unexpected closeness made him freeze. It wasn't fear, and it wasn't discomfort. It was something gentler. Something that felt almost new. Anya watched him at first with curiosity, then with confusion, and finally with a hint of embarrassment. She took a small step back, folding her arms without meaning to. I was only joking, she said softly, trying to lighten the mood. It wasn't a serious challenge. I know, Luke replied, still holding the coat awkwardly. I know that. He wasn't sure what else to say. His heart felt strange, like something was opening inside it after being closed for years. He had been alone for so long that he had forgotten how it felt to stand close to someone and feel something warming instead of painful. Anya misunderstood his pause. She assumed he had stepped back emotionally because he had seen the scars on her arms. Though they were small, they told stories. Stories of hard work, of difficult times, of days when she had to push through challenges stronger people might never understand. She turned slightly to the side, as if wanting to hide them. You don't need to worry, she said with a light laugh that did not quite hide her uncertainty. I know I look a little different. I know people talk about my size, my strength, everything. Luke shook his head immediately. It's not that. Anya looked up, searching his face for the reason he had stopped. She wasn't angry, just confused. She was used to people reacting to her in all kinds of ways. Some kind, some unkind. Some simply curious. But Luke's reaction was different. It held something she couldn't name. He set the coat down on the porch railing carefully, as though afraid he might drop it if he kept holding it. Then he took in a deep breath, trying to steady himself. I didn't freeze because of the coat, he said softly. Anya waited, saying nothing. I froze because... He paused, trying to find simple words. Because when I stepped close to you, everything changed. It felt different. I didn't expect that. Her expression softened, and for a brief moment, she forgot the embarrassment she had felt. Different in a bad way? She asked gently. No, he said. Different in a good way. A way I haven't felt in a long time. The honesty in his voice surprised even him. He rarely talked about feelings. He had spent years building quiet walls around his heart, so he wouldn't think too much or feel too deeply. But now, standing on the wooden porch with the cool evening breeze brushing past them, he realized that some walls weren't built to last forever. Anya stepped a little closer again, though not enough to make him uncomfortable. Then why did you stop? She asked. Because I didn't know what to do, Luke admitted. It's been a long time since someone felt close. She understood those words more than he knew. She had her own history of keeping distance, of protecting herself from disappointment and misunderstandings. But hearing Luke speak openly touched something inside her, something she usually kept guarded. You don't have to know what to do, she replied softly. Sometimes you just let the moment be. Luke let out a quiet breath, relieved by her understanding. He gave a small smile, one that reached his eyes even though it was faint. I'm not very good at that. Then you can learn, she said, returning the smile gently. The tension eased a little, replaced by a calm warmth. Luke reached for the coat again, lifting it with more confidence this time. He placed it carefully on a hook near the door. You weren't joking about this being heavy, he said, trying to restart the evening on a lighter note. Anya chuckled, grateful that the moment was softening. It kept me warm during winter at my uncle's old place. It's like carrying a blanket with sleeves. Luke glanced at the coat, then at her. Well, next time you challenge me, maybe give me something slightly easier to handle. I'll think about it, she teased. They shared a small laugh together, the kind that eased away the earlier awkwardness. The porch felt welcoming again. The glow of the light gentle on their faces, and the quiet sounds of the farm surrounding them. After a moment, Luke walked to the edge of the porch and leaned against the railing, looking out over the field. Anya joined him. They stood side by side, not touching but close enough to feel the presence of each other without needing words. The sky was sprinkled with stars, and the evening held the soft scent of hay and warm earth. A distant horse whinnied, and an owl hooted softly from a nearby tree. The world felt peaceful, as though it understood the delicate moment forming between them. Anya broke the silence with a quiet question. Luke, can I ask something? Of course. Why did you really freeze? I understand your explanation, but I feel there was something more. He hesitated, then nodded. She was right. There was more. When I took the coat, he said gently. I saw your arms, I saw the scars, and I realized you've gone through things you don't talk about. It made me understand something I didn't see before. Anya waited, her expression steady. You're strong, Luke continued. But not just because of your size. You carry yourself in a way that shows you've lived through difficult days and still stayed kind. And when I realized that, I just stopped. It surprised me. The words were not dramatic, but they carried a quiet truth that touched her deeply. Few people noticed her emotional strength. Most only saw her height or her physical power. But Luke had seen past those things. He had seen the person underneath. That means a lot, she said softly. More than you know. I meant it, he replied. Another gentle silence stretched between them. It wasn't awkward. It was comforting, warm, almost soothing. Anya rested her hands on the railing. Sometimes I think people look at me and see something unrealistic, something unusual. I don't mind the jokes, but I do mind being misunderstood. Luke nodded. I understand that more than you might think. She glanced at him. Do you? I do, he said. People think I choose to be alone because I don't care, but the truth is, I care too much. That's why I keep distance. It's easier than being disappointed or hurt. Anya looked at him with quiet understanding. You're not alone in that. Their eyes met for a moment, soft, calm, and gentle. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't intense. It was simply honest. The porch felt like a safe place for both of them. A place where they could speak freely without worry. The sound of the wind rustling through the nearby trees helped ease the quietness between them. After a long pause, Anya smiled and said, Luke, you didn't have to freeze, but I'm glad you explained it. He chuckled softly. I'm still embarrassed. You don't need to be. He turned slightly toward her. Then what should I be? Just yourself, she replied. Those simple words settled into Luke's heart with unexpected warmth. He realized then that being himself, something he had struggled with around others, felt strangely easy around Anya. They stood together until the tea grew cold and the stars grew brighter. Eventually, Luke knew he had to head home before it became too late. As he prepared to leave, Anya walked him down the porch steps. Thank you for staying, she said. Thank you for asking me to. Will you come again? She asked softly. Luke looked at her with a sincerity that needed no effort. Yes, if you want me to. I do, she said without hesitation. He gave a small, warm smile, the kind he rarely gave anyone. Then I'll be here. She watched him as he walked toward his horse. When he rode away, she stayed on the porch a little longer, holding on to the peace the evening had brought her. Neither of them knew exactly what this growing connection meant yet, but both felt something shifting, gently and naturally, like a leaf turning in a soft breeze. And somewhere deep inside, a new hope, quiet and steady, was beginning to take shape. In the days that followed that quiet evening on the porch, Luke found himself thinking about Anya more than he expected. He would wake up with the morning sun, step outside to begin his work, and find his mind drifting back to her gentle smile, her soft laugh, and the way she listened with her whole heart. His ranch had always been a place of silence, with nothing but the steady rhythm of daily chores to keep him company. But now, the silence felt different. It was not heavy or lonely anymore. It felt like a warm space, waiting to be filled. Anya felt the same. She woke early each morning to feed the horses and check on her uncle's farm, but her thoughts were lighter now. She found herself remembering Luke's soft honesty, his careful words, and his quiet strength. She had not expected someone like him to enter her life in Red Valley. She had come for work, for a new beginning, not for friendship or anything more. Yet something in her heart shifted each time she thought of him. Their next meeting happened naturally. Luke passed by the Kovac farm on his way to the upper ridge, where he needed to check the water flow. He told himself he might stop to say hello if he saw her outside, but only if it did not look like he was going out of his way. He didn't want to appear too eager, even though he secretly was. When he reached the farm gate, he saw Anya near the pasture, brushing one of the horses. She looked peaceful, her hair tied back loosely, sunlight warming her face. He rode closer, and when she looked up, he saw her expression brighten in a way that made his heart beat a little faster. "You're out early," she said, placing the brush aside. "So are you," he replied, dismounting. "Thought I'd stop if you weren't too busy." "I'm never too busy for a friend," she said softly. The word friend touched something inside Luke, not because it disappointed him, but because it meant she had made space for him in her life. And yet there was something in her eyes that told him friend did not describe everything she felt. They walked along the fence together, talking easily. Anya told him about her uncle's improving health, and Luke shared stories from his childhood that he hadn't thought about in years. They laughed at small things, teased each other gently, and paused often to admire the peaceful landscape around them. But as warm as the moment felt, both of them knew there was still something unspoken, something deeper, something that needed to be addressed before their connection could truly grow. After a while, they sat on a fallen log beneath a tall cottonwood tree. The quiet around them felt comfortable, but Luke sensed a question in her eyes. "Anya," he said softly, "I've been thinking about the other night, about how I reacted." She looked down at her hands. "I thought I embarrassed you," she admitted. "No," he said firmly. "You didn't. I was only surprised. Not by the coat, not by anything you said. I was surprised by how I felt." Her eyes lifted slightly. "And how did you feel?" "Close," he said simply. "Closer to you than I expected." She released a small breath, one she didn't realize she had been holding. "I felt the same." There it was. The truth, spoken gently, without pressure or fear. Luke continued slowly, choosing his words carefully. "I've kept people at a distance for a long time. I thought it was safer that way. But you make it easy to let someone in." Anya looked at him with soft eyes. "You make it easy for me too." He nodded, relieved. "I just didn't know what that meant. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to step closer or stay at the edge." She smiled faintly. "I wanted you to step closer. I didn't say it because I didn't want to push you." They were quiet again, but this silence felt full instead of empty, like two paths slowly bending toward each other. Finally, Luke asked gently, "Why did you challenge me that night?" "Not the coat, just the challenge itself." Anya laughed softly. "Because people in town kept saying you were afraid of me." Luke raised an eyebrow. "Afraid of you?" "Afraid of my height, my strength, my presence," she said with a sigh. "I didn't mind. I'm used to it. But I wanted to see if you were the same." "And what did you find out?" he asked. "That you weren't afraid of me," she answered warmly. "You were just afraid of feeling something again." Luke looked down, but he didn't hide the truth. "Yes, that's true." "And now?" she asked gently. "And now I'm not afraid," he said. "Not of you. Not of the feeling." A quiet breeze moved through the tall grass, and the rustling leaves created a soft music around them. Anya's expression grew thoughtful, and Luke could see something deeper, stirring in her eyes. "There's something else," she said slowly. "Something I didn't tell you before." Luke listened with full attention. "When I left my old life, I didn't just leave a place," she explained. "I left behind expectations. People wanted me to be a certain way, strong all the time, capable of everything, never needing help." She paused. "I tried to be that person for so long, but it made me feel more alone." Luke's chest tightened. "You don't have to be that person here." "That's why I froze that night," she admitted. "When you saw my scars, I thought you'd think less of me, or think I was strange. I didn't want you to see the difficult parts of my past, but I did see them," Luke said softly. "And it only made me respect you more." Anya blinked back a gentle emotion. "Thank you." Luke reached out slowly, not too fast, not too bold. He simply placed his hand lightly over hers. She looked at their hands, then at him, and for the first time since arriving in Red Valley, she felt completely understood. They stayed like that for a long moment, letting the warmth settle between them. Eventually, they walked back toward the farm. Her uncle was in the yard, pretending he wasn't watching them, though the small smile on his face made it clear he noticed everything. Luke helped Anya carry a crate of tools into the barn. They worked side by side, not speaking much, but sharing a quiet connection that didn't need words. After they finished, Luke stood near the barn door, unsure if he should leave or stay a little longer. He didn't want to overstay his welcome, but he also didn't want the moment to end. Anya stepped closer, sensing his hesitation. "Luke," she said, "you can stay as long as you like." Her words were simple, but they carried such warmth that Luke felt something inside him open even more. They walked out toward the field again, watching the sky turn golden with the setting sun. The soft orange light made the world feel gentle and calm. After a long, peaceful silence, Luke spoke in a quiet voice. "Anya, can I ask you something?" "Of course," she said. He took a breath. "Let me walk beside you from now on." He paused, then added with a small, hopeful smile, "If you'll dare accept me." The playful twist on her earlier challenge made her heart flutter. She thought about everything she had been through, everything she had feared, everything she had hoped for, and she realized she already knew her answer. "I accept," she said softly. "Gladly." Luke's smile grew warm, honest, full of quiet joy. They didn't need to say anything more. They simply stood together, watching the sun slip behind the distant hills, knowing that something new had begun between them, something gentle, steady, and real. Red Valley, a town that loved stories, would soon whisper about them with warm amusement and fond curiosity. But Luke and Anya didn't mind. Their story was not built on rumors or exaggerations. It was built on honesty, trust, and the slow, natural connection of two people who had carried loneliness for too long and finally found comfort in each other. And as they walked back toward the house, side by side, neither one felt alone anymore.